what do you see with, do the Bitcoin Treasury companies take over a lot of this? I know, like, again, Peter is just like, oh yeah, absolutely, altcoin season's done. It's no more. And then you have like a Raul Paul who's like, oh yeah, it's coming. Like, where do you stand in that? Will the treasury companies soak up a lot of that and take away a lot of that? What do you see when it comes to that?
Yeah, as I said, I think there's a lot of big money in the space that doesn't yet understand that crypto is just nonsense. So we had a guy who was going to invest in our fund, and he had, I don't know, 1,000 Bitcoin or something. And I spoke with the relationship manager for him, and he ended up selling all his Bitcoin to buy Ethereum because he thinks the alt season is coming.
No way.
So it's like, I don't know. I'm like,
that's a serious, that's a real story.
I'm like, how good? Yeah, true story. And I'm like, wow, you got 1,000 Bitcoin and you still believe in Ethereum. But I find it surprising. But these things do happen. This is what I'm talking about. Like in Switzerland particularly, I find that people conflate Bitcoin with Ethereum and Solana. For them, that's the three blue chip cryptos. So, you meet people all the time. They're like, yeah, I'm a third between the three blue chip cryptos. I'm like, what are the three blue chip cryptos? And they always say the same thing. It's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I'm like, have you looked at the earnings of Ethereum on their, price earnings ratio? And have you looked at that on what they potentially can do in terms of growth? I mean, like, Ethereum needs to have a 99% drop to be valued in line with Google and Amazon in terms of the same price earnings ratio. So, I mean, it's just absolute garbage, and people are going to lose a lot of money by just, again, being lazy, not doing the work, just saying, oh, they're the blue chip cryptos. And, Bitcoin's too expensive. I don't want to buy that. So, like, we see it every time, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm not going to agree with Peter on that one. I think you will see a run in cryptos because, I mean, I was looking at it this morning. XRP was up 15% or something. I'm like, who buys that? Like who, like, really? But, there are good marketing stories out there on Twitter. There's bots everywhere, I don't know. Again, when it comes back down to the, I made that comment, it's on you. I felt bad about that comment. It's not. It's like, there's so much distraction out there. There's so much, trying to vie for your dollars. And it's confusing, and it's deliberately confusing. And unfortunately, as a result, you probably will end up with a bit of a bump in altcoins. I think the bump gets less and less every cycle.
Muted,
but you will at some point probably see a run in all these things. And that's the thing. Bitcoin runs what we're running 6% in the last, 48 hours. People go, okay, I better buy Ripple then. Because it will do better than Bitcoin. Right. Because it's a lower unit cost.
It's wild too, because I was just looking at something, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it was end of last week or something, but it was the total, percentage of total market cap. The Bitcoin continues to, I don't know if it's all, well, it's the highs, at least, or local highs, maybe at least for the last couple of years or whatever. It's like 65%. It's like 2/3 of all the market cap is in Bitcoin, and it keeps eating away at all the other coins. And again, Bitcoin's been on top for 16 years, and it's never, no one's ever really come close to it. But even the total market cap of all the other cryptos, again, I think it's important for the average person to understand that there's Bitcoin, and then there is everything else, and there are many, many reasons for that. As Richard, we've illuminated some of them, just a few of them, but you got to, boy, that is wild. I still can't believe that story of the guy 1,000 Bitcoin.
I know, but it happens every day.
That's incredible.
It's crazy. Yeah,
that's like,
how can
that's
you
like
have 1,000 Bitcoin and still do that? Yeah,
go on the roulette wheel, take a spin.
Yeah.
That is wild. Wow. What are your thoughts on lending? So Strike coming out with the lending, different companies are coming out with the lending options. Obviously there's the handful that have been around for a while, HODL, Ledin, there's, Unchained, and there's a handful of them, but there's more and more of this coming out. I feel like we're in this epoch, like we kind of mentioned earlier, of Bitcoiners are starting to really accrue wealth, and it's going to happen more and more here, obviously, in the coming months and coming years, where there's a larger cohort of people where you had, like you said, whales who they might have been just cypherpunks, technologists, whatever. And then now they're like, well, like, okay, I'm going to cash out because I didn't totally believe in this, at least some of them. But now you have this cohort of people who are big believers. They don't want to sell their Bitcoin. Is that going to, again, reduce that selling pressure? And like, what are your thoughts on just how lending and how that is going to kind of work its way through the system here?
Yeah, look, I mean, that's the reason we launched our fund, is we had a lot of hardcore Bitcoiners who were just like, I was pitching my dollar fund. So it's dollar-denominated funds and just scoop alpha in the crypto space, because there is rich alpha. This is an emerging market. And so you just have complete price inefficiencies happening all over the place. So we built a dollar-denominated fund a couple of years ago, launched it in partnership with Willy Woo. Anyway, I was sat with a client one day, and he had a lot of Bitcoin. And I said, how about you, put a few million in the fund? And he's like, every time I sell my Bitcoin, I feel like I'm chopping off a limb. It's so painful. I regret it instantly. I never want to sell any more Bitcoin. And that kind of got me thinking, is like, well, could we do something similar, just denominated in Bitcoin? So that's what we did. We ended up launching that fund in March. We had so much demand, Brandon. It ended up being triple my dollar fund at launch.
Wow.
We had to close it for new capacity. Yeah. So we're gonna reopen it for capacity in October. But yeah, I mean, we already have just so much demand. We're never going to have enough capacity to cover that demand. So it's kind of crazy. And to your point, like, Bitcoiners now, they're like, I'm not selling Bitcoin. I'm going to hold my Bitcoin. I just want a return on my Bitcoin. And, we talked about this in Vegas on one of the panels, but when you've been a Bitcoiner long enough, Bitcoin is your cash, right? So, like, as we said, measuring anything in fiat just becomes ridiculous. It's like Bitcoin is
fool's errand,
is your wealth, right? So it gets to a point where you're like, even if I can get a little bit of a return on that Bitcoin. So, the way we designed the fund was to have super low volatility, like super low volatility, like 1-2%. And then the idea that we can get in a good market environment, 5 to 10% return in Bitcoin terms. Now, it's been super quiet since we launched it. So we're returning sort of 3.5, 3.8%, but still everybody in the fund is super happy. It's like 3.8% of your Bitcoin is phenomenal. But yeah, I think that's just the beginning. And as I said, the level of demand that we had for that is just absolutely out of control. It was quite funny, actually, because it ended up being the biggest launch of a fund in the C's Group's history. We're a 30-year banking group. And the chairman of the board of the group, so Eric C's, called me. He's like, Richard, what on earth is happening? Like, why?
What did you do?
What did you do? Exactly. And he's like, no, okay, fine. Now you need to come and explain to the whole board what is happening. Like, what is this Bitcoin thing? And so, because I'd been preaching to him for the 3 years that I've been with the firm, but like, it's hard. It's not getting through. And so ended up presenting to the board of the C's Group, which is 10 people over the age of 70. Some of them sit on the board of UBS as well. Some of them sit on the board of Swissquote, and all of them trying to actually understand what I'm saying, because they realize this has just been a monumental moment for the group and they need to pay attention.
If you like that clip, then you definitely got to check out this next spicy clip. I think you're really going to like it. Come on, check it out. But if you want the full version, the full interview, then check that out over here. Come on, do it. I'll see you in there.